I'm Adam Papagan, and welcome to another episode of There's a Place, the show that explores the mind and personality and feelings and all that good stuff. I wanted to give a little movie review tonight. I saw a great movie yesterday. It was the Brian Wilson movie, Love and Mercy. So, I would really recommend it if you could catch it. This isn't about promoting the movie. This story just kind of the framing, but really super film. I'm a big Beach Boys fan, but there's a couple Beach Boys movies, and I just didn't think I would see this one, but I decided to go see it. And on the way over to the theater, I was thinking about the time that I saw Brian Wilson at the mall when I was a kid. This is one of my absolute favorite memories, favorite stories to tell, especially when people are listening to the Beach Boys. I put this in and it adds just an extra level of enjoyment. But when I was a kid, maybe 7 or 8, I was at the West Side Pavilion in West Los Angeles with my stepmom, and we were eating in the food court. And this is one of these food courts that had a McDonald's. And as anyone who's been to a food court knows, McDonald's is always the most popular restaurant at the food court for some reason. Panda Express is second, but if there's ever a McDonald's in a food court, they're cleaning up because it's consistent. You know what you're going to get. So this particular food court had a McDonald's, and we're sitting there and I'm eating my food or whatever, and my stepmom says, "Oh wow, over at that table right there, that's Brian Wilson." And I was like, "Who?" It's like, "From the Beach Boys." And even at that young age, I was like, "Oh, the Beach Boys, Southern California, yes, the ultimate. Wow, that's really cool." So I looked over there and I just was like watching him, and I remember how he had that it factor, that aura about him. So I couldn't stop watching him. So I was just sitting there, and he gets his Big Mac that he got from the McDonald's at the food court, and he picks it up, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. He put the whole thing in his mouth and ate it in 2 or 3 bites tops. It was like that Tootsie Pop commercial, like, how many licks? A 1, a 2, a 3, 3. Like, he just chomped it. So I'll never, he just devoured that Big Mac, and that's a big burger. So flash forward to the Brian Wilson movie yesterday in the theater. There was a scene, kind of a pivotal scene in the movie, where you learn how controlling his therapist is, where they're at a barbecue and the therapist is cooking hamburgers and Brian Wilson wants one. So as soon as the hamburgers came on the screen, I was like, okay, yeah, the mall, Big Macs, right. So the scene goes on, and Brian's really hungry, so he sneaks a couple bites of the hamburger, and John Cusack, who's playing the older Brian Wilson, picks up the hamburger, and he put the whole thing right in his mouth, just like when I saw Brian Wilson in real life. So, at this point, I was going nuts. It's like, wow, this must be the most realistic movie ever. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm one of the Wilson brothers. This is really how Brian Wilson eats. So, it got me thinking, is this something that people is known about Brian Wilson, that he devours hamburgers? Is this something that John Cusack observed, when he met Brian Wilson? He's like, I'm a method actor. I got to put this into my performance. It was just such a weird detail and a weird thing. Maybe that event was all leading up to this scene being in the movie. I really have no idea, but it just goes to show you something that could be such a weird coincidence, so bizarre to you, so important, is just dinner at the food court for a guy. He's just a guy at the end of the day. And it was just really strange. I did have 3 different hamburgers today. I was thinking about it so much. At McDonald's, In-N-Out, and then Hawkins, all right in a row. So this episode is dedicated to Brian Wilson. But let's get into the show now. My guest tonight is an artist. He's a screen printer. I have some questions about the technique of screen printing, because it's one of these things that's all around subtly, but you never realize obviously what goes into it. But let's just bring him out. John Miner.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. So John,
Yeah.
this is we're gonna get into like the art and like I get into screen printing stuff. But my number one question when I knew that you knew a lot about screen printing.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a time I was in a band. We have to order T-shirts, whatever. Going rate for just like a single color on like a white or black shirt. If you order a couple hundred of them, between $4.50 to $6, I would say, depending on how soon you need them, whatever. Just go somewhere. When you go to like a big concert, like at an amphitheater, and there's guys selling the bootleg shirts,
Oh, yeah.
full color, and they're like $10. How are they doing that?
They're the printers. Well, it gets a little more complicated than that. Okay, in the grand scheme of things in Los Angeles, that amoeba's grown so big. Not just like with just bootlegging, it's not about that one show and everything. They're dealing with a wholesaler now that has automatic presses cranking those things out, selling them to the guys, waving them on the street, going yo yo yo. For $5, they're selling it to you for $10. So it's grown into this sort of kingpin type situation. If you're the printer and you're getting so many shirts and making thousands of them and taking all the risk off your shoulders and putting it on the poor saps on the streets, flopping them back and forth, trying to sell them for $10, that's how that thing works.
So they're just doing thousands of these? I guess there's a guy on every corner. He's got a bag got 200
Well,
of them in
it's
it.
not just that concert. It's everything all in the LA area, all the way up into San Francisco and down into San Diego.
What do they do if they don't sell them?
Well, if you ever go into a neighborhood like the one we're sitting in right now in lovely East LA or South Central or Vernon, you'll occasionally see those guys selling their leftovers for what they can get for them at a yard sale.
Got it. So it's really just, but the printers are making all the money.
Oh yeah.
'Cause the guys, okay, so because it's very risky with the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Who is designing the bootleg T-shirts?
Well, there's this family, and I'm not naming names, but I've known some of them, and they originate out of like South Central, like Compton and Watts, and they started out in the 80s just doing like these single color, really gnarly T-shirts, and some of them are so collectible and valuable now because they're just so bad. Like if it's a Metallica T-shirt or the hardcore band Fear, and it's a reggae colored blend. So that's how they started out, and then they just kept doing it so long and mastered it, and so they're to the point where they're just the wholesalers. They don't even have any risk.
But you know how the art on a bootleg T-shirt is always weird?
Yeah,
Who's making those creative decisions?
Somebody in that kingpin family is.
They just assign it to someone they probably never even heard of the act.
You know what? They probably took a class at a community college and went for it. But bootlegs, to me, are really a form of folk art.
I have a bootleg shirt. I've tried more than I couldn't find it. It was dirty as hell, wrinkled. But I got it when Fleetwood Mac played at the Forum.
Yeah.
And I know I want to get a shirt. I know I want to get a bootleg shirt because I'm not paying Forum surcharges on the merch, and Lindsey Buckingham needs a lot of money, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm walking back to my car through Englewood, and this guy's got a shirt, and it looks like it's at the Rumors album, very iconic. The Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks, they're on it, whatever. So I get a little bit closer, and the image is like a Reebok ad from the 80s. Like the guy has like a vest on, it's like not Stevie Nicks in it. So I'm wondering, how did that happen? Were they worried about getting sued for using the image, or did they really not know like what Fleetwood Mac was?
I think they either were naive or they just didn't care. Because the grand example of a classic, just worst case scenario bootleg shirt that my friend has that he bought at the Inland Invasion 2003 with you know, the Sex, or was it
Oh, the
2002
punk
with the
bands.
Sex Pistols?
Yeah.
And the greatest punk lineup in
Yeah,
history.
GPH,
And so
Distillers.
there was a guy waving a shirt, you know, and he was like this. He's like $10, and he said 8, and he goes, okay, amigo, you got it. And he like tosses them, you know, hey, you want a medium? And then they drive away, and then he looks at it, and his friends was like, what's on the back? And it was a it was a Mana shirt. They had a one-sided bootleg Mana shirt, and they just flipped over the blank side and printed the Inland Invasion bootleg on it. But then again, that's classic. How unique is that?
It's great. It's just it adds this like really strange. The term we use on the show is hyper local,
Yeah.
which is something that's just like so. It's strange subtly, but it's just so familiar and in your face.
Yeah.
It's like frustrating. It's just like, you know what I'm talking about? Something like that, like a strip mall, like in your hometown or whatever. That's just
Yeah.
like got like a pool hall and like a beer cave. You know, it's just like, oh, I drive by it all the time. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I see your point in that. It's just like, you know, if the naiveness in it, you couldn't think that up. I mean, that is true folk art. You know, it's, you know, people don't want to believe that it is, but, you know, in the same sense that when I started doing artwork, I was doing just cut and paste Xerox flyers, and I would take the band logo from a previous flyer that I already had and snipping it out and putting it on top of a picture or a collage and just whipping it out like on the spot, like, you know, next to a Xerox machine somewhere. And, you know, I was 18 years old, and, you know, I didn't know any better. I didn't have any technique, but, you know, I just wanted to do a flyer, and it was what it was. It's the same thing with, like, bootleg T-shirts, or a lot of times, like, in the old days, vinyl LPs. And some of those have achieved the level of high art, you know, because they're just so raw and real, and the cover artwork was sometimes really good.
I'll give you some examples.
Well, there's the whole trademark of quality bootlegs.
The Great White Wonder.
Yeah, or the legendary, what was it, Corny Phone label.
I have never heard of that.
That was an earlier one than trademark quality, and they had the flyer covers, and it was just a simple insert, one color on colored paper, a lot of hand pen and ink on it, and then a picture of a band and some elements that may or may not even relate to the band, just slipped into the shrink wrap, and, you know, it just served a purpose. And well, the recording quality could sometimes be folk art in itself, depending on the source of it. If it was a board tape, you know, okay, you're kind of getting pro. If it was like a Sony cassette recorder set on a railing somewhere at probably a bad location next to some people that were talking, you know. But, you know, it's things like that become art because they are what they are. There's no changing it.
Yeah, it's just you know, because it's unusual, it stands out and lets you appreciate what was the norm at the time.
Yeah.
Or like what is the normal thing. Really, like, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like folk art, even the taco place across the street from where we're at is a work of folk art.
Oh, absolutely.
It just serves a purpose. The people that own it, just they had an idea and they thought it'd be funny. Or Tepeyac down the street with the dinosaurs and stuff. It's like, where did they get those fiberglass dinosaurs and stuff? I don't know. They probably found them somewhere cheap and stuck them on their building. Now everybody knows it and loves it.
It's great, just because some weird instinct they had.
Yeah.
It makes people happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because I really get off on odd things like that. Clearly. So let's talk about these flyers that you were making when you were Xeroxing stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of bands were these for?
Well, when I was a teenager, they were some backyard party punk bands. They usually were on the mediocre level, or some.
Hold on, a mediocre punk band? Wait a minute.
You know, I'd like to say mediocre in the punk term would
Yeah.
mean trying too hard, or trying too hard to be punk, or just being very stereotypical of, you know, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, the system, or it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, this is an anti-Nazi song, You know, it's just like, gee, all these people in the backyard, God, they thought Nazis were okay until you heard your song. You know, that type of thing. Well, anyways, it was just a bunch of cut and paste and stuff like that. And, you know, it was just, it came out of a wanting, you know, in my young little mind to be a part of something. I didn't want to just be like, you know, the jerk, like hanging around there just getting drunk and, you know, putting white glue in my hair to make it a mohawk before the show. You know, it's just like I wanted to, like, you know, talk to the bands. I wanted to be like
Interact with it.
part of something, which, gee, by reading like old punk magazines, even from the 70s when I was a teenager, like old copies and copies of these original magazines and reading about it, and it was just like, oh, okay, well, doing something different and being proactive and being a part of things. That's what I thought what punk was, you know.
Was that a thing, like Xeroxing old magazines and passing them around?
Yeah, that was, because if you were dealing with a magazine from 1977,
What,
and
like
I was
that,
born in 76.
that like punk magazine, the one that's called Punk,
Yeah,
with like
that.
Lou Reed on the cover,
Even
the
I
drawing
had
of him?
a Xerox of Sniff and Glue, which was the first ever
Right.
British punk magazine that started in 76. You know, just things like this would just get passed around because, you know, that there was no internet. And you had to talk to somebody, and you, oh, my older brother has that, and can you borrow it from him and get a copy? And you'd go to the 5 cent a page liquor store Xerox machine and copy it. And then if you wanted a copy, you would copy it. And then it would turn into its own kind of art. The 10th generation, we called it.
Like the zine kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of vibe.
Yeah. They were Xeroxes of zines of zines of zines of zines.
And then that brings it to that folk art thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zines are folk art too.
Oh yeah. One time I was at like a hardcore festival, but like real like bro-y hardcore.
Yeah.
And my buddy came with his college roommate, who just like, oh, I'll come check this out. I've never heard this, whatever. Like he was just really like gung ho about it. He was a good sport, so he was enjoying it ever. And there was like a zine table, so he picked one up and he's like reading through it, and there's like all like the blocks of text and like the bad photography and stuff. And he's like, how come this isn't about anything useful, like how to like fix your car or something? I was like, you're right on.
You're avant-garde for that scene.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
You could blow the zine world up with this thinking.
Well, actually, then, you know, years later, going back to the early 2000s, the punk zine, or it was more like a magazine, it was newsprint and thick, Destroy All Monthly. They did have a car guy section where he taught you how to like do your own repairs. So I mean, that was pretty punk. Shepard Fairey way back then did a how to mix wheat paste and how not to get caught section. So they had how-tos, but it took, you know, that many years of the punk zine culture to finally realize that they could do something practical. So, you know, go figure.
Yeah, man, Destroy All. I totally forgot about that. That was the free. You get it at record stores.
Oh yeah.
That was the free, and there was that, and there was Mean Street,
Yeah.
which was really soft. It was not as
yeah.
cool. And there was Scratch. I think there's one called Scratch.
That was more like an Orange County one.
Which
Yeah.
is very OC.
Yeah.
The whole vibe was kind of pretty OC about it.
Yeah.
And it would be like ads for like Kung Fu Records,
Yeah.
the Bouncing Souls and
Lots
stuff.
of skate shop ads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, what about my favorite free zine, which really, like, if I flip through an old copy of my own that I still have, it still blows me away. Ben is Dead.
I don't know that one.
Oh man, it was really like, wasn't really like punk rock. It was just sort of part of that wonderful '90s freak scene, and you know they strived on having things that were disturbing and disgusting. A lot of, you know, really good photography of some really nasty performance art and stuff like that. And then also too, that was the dawn of the internet, so they discovered how to search for like all the most vile things you could think of, and right in the middle of an article there'd be some vile picture of some guy, you know, who died sticking things up somewhere into him and had a heart attack, and there's all the devices, you know, displayed, you know, amongst his dead body, and I just look at it and it's like, whoa, what's that? So And Marilyn Monroe's autopsy photos and stuff, things like that. So, yeah, even the '90s zine culture was before the internet. It was real. Everybody was trying to be their own animal, which is wonderful.
The whole culture was kind of just like pushing for the internet.
Yeah.
Everyone really was, I feel like, ready for it to happen.
Yeah, but in a way, the internet sort of killed something there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're going downhill. I mean, the signs are all around us. I mean, look where we are here.
Yes, it's me watching me.
Yeah, it's this dumb. So you, after you Xeroxed flyers and stuff, you got into doing bigger flyers, bigger acts and stuff.
Well, I took screen printing at Arroyo High School in El Monte, and and I started doing crude designs for punk bands and really short run T-shirts and stickers and stuff like that. And I was starting to be a merchandiser, and then when I got to Pasadena City College, and that was right at the time the whole rock poster thing started blowing up, but I would look at what was popular in the rock poster scene that artists like Coop and Frank Kozik were doing. And even at that time in the late '90s, they were going for all these big, trendy acts, which, like Hole, John Spencer, and, things like that.
Those posters you see at Amoeba.
Yeah,
on the western wall.
The art was always awesome, but at that time it started to get commercialized, and I saw that, and I'm just like, God, that's the most amazing thing ever. And I'd see them in record stores and loved the artwork, loved the colors, loved just how the screen print look was just so bold and in your face, looked like nothing else. But I was like, how come nobody's doing posters for this hardcore band or this really weird band? Or so I started just going for bands that I liked or thought just needed attention, or people I was just friends with, and I would screen print them at Pasadena City College, which oddly enough I teach there now. And I was a student in Chris P. Lone's class, and I would do my assignment real quick, and then she'd turn her back, and then I'd be in the middle of doing a gig poster. And early on, it was early '94, I did one for a monster band at the time. Well, in my world was Bikini Kill, this hugely popular
Riot Girl. Is what it's called.
Queen of all Riot Girls.
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, they were the top of the top in that scene. And so my friend did a poster for that show, and we sold 100 of them at $4 a pop, and we got to meet Kathleen Hanna. And that was just something that was just like, oh, this is wonderful. We got to meet Kathleen Hanna. Not only did we get to meet Kathleen Hanna, she was on acid. She had dropped acid, I guess, right before the set, and she stripped down to her underwear, which was, a leopard print bra and panties, and she was covered in sweat, and so it's completely see-through. And so, sitting here well, thank you for letting us do this. We made $400. Do you want some money? And we want to share it with you. And she was like, nah, you can just do it yourself. And she has her leg up on one theater seat, and we're looking at the queen of modern feminism, just naked. And we're just like, is this okay? But, oh, this is really cool. And we made $400. Wow. And people liked it, So, did that, and it rolled and kept doing bigger things. And how that happened was, my friends' little bands would open up for big bands when they would come around. And so they would talk to the people, and they would just oh, sure, okay. A free promotional item. Wow, okay, somebody's going to do one of those for free, and give us some, and we're going to get some of the money, and it's a good deal for everybody. And so, and I did it, got my name out there, got free beer, and just had a good time doing it,
What was your favorite design you ever did, regardless of sales or anything happening? Is there anything?
Sales really don't have much to do with it.
No, but I mean popularity or whatever.
Well,
because I've seen some T-shirts, Friends bands or whatever, that were a design that didn't sell at all. Nobody liked it, but it was my favorite. Was there anything like that?
Yeah, there was that
people just didn't get.
I think one of my favorites was me and my friend and bandmate Jerry, you know, in typical, like, you know, true punk rock fashion, like sitting around saying, yeah, we need to do a poster. I'm like, come on, Jerry, you're in the band, dude, you got to help on this one, you know. And we had like a stack of old Cream magazines we got from somewhere. And we're just like, I don't know, what should we do? Because it didn't matter, because it was just our band playing a show with our friends' bands at Mr. T's Bowl in Highland Park. And, you know, and Mr. T's Bowl was wonderful. That was anything goes.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
went there once.
Yeah. And that poster, it's like my friend Jerry, like, he pulls this one copy of Cream out and it has Rob Halford from Judas Priest on the front cover, and he's in his like fullest of full gay bondage gear, you know, and he has the sunglasses, the leather cap, leather everything, studs galore, and he's holding a riding crop, you know. And that was like, you know, after he had came out of the closet, and we're just like, we just look at that cover and just laugh. It's like, oh my God, nobody got that he was gay, you know. And it was just hilarious to us. And so, you know, he's just like, yeah, let's put this on there. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a cool image for a post. Let's put Rob Halford in his full bondage gear. But I got the idea to make it look like a Nazi poster. It was just red, black, and white, and with the meanest form of Old English lettering we could find, and a single white lightning bolt, kind of representative of, you know, the SS, and just one white stripe down the side. And this was the most fascist-looking thing. Like, you know, we put it up on venue walls and record stores, and people would go up to it. It's like, what is this Nazi crap? And then they would look at it and read the band names and see that and notice it was Rob Halford, and they'd just go, oh, it's a show at Mr. T's. You know, that was one of my favorites, because it was just so goofy. It worked, and it got a reaction, and just it still makes me laugh to this day. You know.
When you say we got a font we could find, how would you were doing things all without computers? When did computers come into the mix?
Well,
of stuff like this?
Computers, like, you know, even in the 90s, you'd use a computer for type. Like, you'd type out what you wanted to say.
And to trace it or something.
And then cut it out.
Yeah.
And to get the artwork on a screen, the black and white work, it was photographic. You actually physically put it in a giant, large format process camera for the graphic arts, and then you made a negative, and then you made a positive, and then after you had the positive, you would hand separate the colors. You know, the computer technology at then was around, but it was just like having access to it and being able to get electronic output for your separations done in Photoshop was kind of a feat for most people. So you'd cut and paste the artwork, do collages, you know, have a glue stick handy, you know, markers and things like that, and then you would hand cut the separations out of a graphic arts masking film. And so the only computer would really be involved was just what you set the type on. Because to do that and print out a 8.5 by 11 and then slap it to your artwork done at 50% scale was rather easy. You know.
So you know how when you see bands like try to do their own screen printed T-shirts or stuff, and they always look bad?
Well, that's wonderful.
What is the mistake that they're making? What can you give okay. What's the tip most amateurs are making when they try to screen print?
The most amateur mistake they're making is usually going to Blick Art Store and buying the kit, because you buy this dumpy little kit. It's way too expensive, and it comes with junky ink, and the screen is like a window screen. Like, it's way too open. It puts way too much ink down, and they've never done it before. They don't know how hard to press. You know, they think, oh, we got to go over it like 5 times, and it's just all smushed out and everything. You know, but the thing is, T-shirt printing, especially in LA, has gotten so cheap. You don't even see that many of those anymore. I mean, my beginning students at PCC make some doozies, you know, the first time they do it. You know, but it's gotten so cheap now that a lot of these bands is like, you know, they're able to save up the money, but getting T-shirts printed years ago used to be more expensive than it is nowadays, and I don't know how, but you know, but I wish I did see more badly printed T-shirts. Like, that's getting back to folk art. They are what they are, and there's probably like 2 dozen of them that exist. You know why? Because they let the ink dry in the screen, and they can't make any more. So.
So it's really just carelessness, not
Right?
knowing.
It's just not knowing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a physical activity. It's just like playing the guitar. I mean, you could read a lot of books on how to play the guitar and know where to put your fingers and everything, but you know, the first time you like strum a chord and try to bend a note, it's not going to sound very good at all.
And then you're stuck with all these T-shirts you gotta
Yeah.
do
yeah.
something with.
Yeah, but if your friends are real true friends, they'll pay the $10 regardless.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I guess that's what the T-shirt's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, you know the thing,
Reffing.
it's media. It's, you know, a T-shirt. You know what is a T-shirt really? Nobody even understands what it is anymore. What it started out as, this thing about like people wearing T-shirts as part of their daily attire and saying, look, this is what I like. This is what I am. This is what represents me. It's not that old of an idea.
Yeah, it's very the 70s maybe it started.
Probably early 70s, because there wasn't really like, you know, in the 50s there was screen printed, mass marketed T-shirts, but they were kids T-shirts.
Mickey Mouse or something
Yeah,
on
they
them,
were
right?
for advertisement, or if you were going to watch the football game at the high school or whatever, you'd put your football sweater on and with the name of the high school and the team, and you go home and take it off. You wouldn't like, you know, go to church wearing that. You wouldn't go to work wearing that. You know, you wouldn't walk down the street. But it was the early 70s, and also with pop music, like Partridge Family, David Cassidy. He was the big old whopper that kind of started it all.
He broke T-shirts?
Well, his management team were one of the earliest people to figure out how much they could really make just on merchandising. Because before that, it was just like an advertisement thing, or you know, you'd wear your Orange Crush ski sweater that they gave you last year at the ski slopes when you skied. But it was really like even teenagers prior to that weren't walking to high school sporting a T-shirt with a graphic on it. You know, it was primarily like a kids thing or an advertising thing, and you know, it's like after the early 70s, it started to become like, yeah, this is acceptable daily attire, and you wear it because, you know, if somebody can walk down the street and say, yeah, I love the Partridge Family too, or yeah, David Cassidy's so cute. You know, it's like we could be friends. You know, so that's really what kind of did it. But now it's just like worldwide. It's just a thing. Everybody wears these, and you know, it helps identify like who you are.
Yeah, I never thought of it as media. It's true though. It's
Yeah.
the same as a commercial or a
Exactly.
movie, or it's the same. Just kind of like this idea.
Yeah. My late uncle like had the funniest saying about T-shirts, and he would say it to me for a period of time, and you know, coming from him, and he was, you know, a millionaire, like self-made millionaire, and you know, I remember being a kid and I was wearing a Guns N' Roses T-shirt, and he just said to me in my grandma's kitchen, he says, how much are they paying you to wear that T-shirt? And I'm like, what? And he's like, no. He's like, well, where'd you get that T-shirt? And he's like, oh, I bought it. So, well, how much did it cost? I was like, oh, it was $12. So you're paying $12 to advertise for that band for free, you know?
Mm. Hell yeah. I
Yeah.
love Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. And then we went.
I'm in the
like,
club.
Then we went on his boat one time, and I saw him wearing a T-shirt with a graphic, and it was Sprague's Ready Mix, you know, out in Irwindale, you know, the cement supplier. I say, hey, Uncle Bob, how much are they paying you to wear that T-shirt? You know, because you're in the construction business and everything, you know. And he's like, I didn't pay nothing. They gave them to me. You know, I ordered so much cement. If I tell them I want 20 of them for all my guys, they'll give me 20 of them. And you know, it's good artwork, and you know, I think they're a good company. And you know, hey, hell, I'll advertise for them for free because you know they hook me up. And I'm like, oh, okay, Uncle Bob. You know, so that's the logic that people don't really like understand anymore. That you know, you are a walking billboard. You know.
But Guns N' Roses is hooking you up with riffs and like good songs.
Well, I guess, or
Right?
things that you can identify with.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a billboard right now. This came from my friend's store, Lethal Amounts, Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know that.
Danny. Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that shirt
Yeah.
though. And there's some controversy with the Runaways right
Uh-huh.
now. Have you been hearing about this?
I heard it, but I really try not to pay that much attention to it because, you know, Kim Fowley's dead, and everybody knew he was a sleazebag, or pretended to be the biggest sleazebag in the world.
I heard this rumor long before he died.
Yeah.
But the rumor is that he raped one of the members or something.
Well, I heard that
Bill Cosby to her or something
yeah,
like
well,
that.
I heard that he had his way with all of them, or everybody but Joan Jett or whatever. But then again, they were 16-year-old girls, and it's Kim Fowley. I mean, you never know if what he was saying was really true, if he really was that sleazy and sick, or if it was just like an act. So, but I don't know. Joan Jett's never said anything, but she probably didn't make waves because she's the only one that had a successful career in the music industry.
Lita Ford.
Oh yeah, Lita Ford, but
Sandy,
not to the level as Joan
whatever her
Jett.
name was. Yeah, but still, they got to work or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, Joan Jett said she's like not aware of any of this previously, she said. So she's on the side of Kim Fowley because she loves rock and roll, like the song. And Kim Fowley is the ultimate Los Angeles rock and roller.
Yeah, it's funny. Speaking of like doing concert posters and graphic work, he was honestly the one of the only people I would refuse to do anything for. Because it's just, for one, it was just like, I mean, honestly, he did a lot of great things, but I think the Runaways was the last great thing. Venus and the Razor Blades, they were so bad they were good, but just his whole just terrible sleazy cabaret wannabe, I'm just like I don't want anything to do with that. I'd rather have to do with contemporary sleaze and stuff, sleaze that has I don't know, some sort of artistic merit, not just trying to bring attention to somebody like him.
I hear that. I can
no
respect
substance
that.
to it.
Well, speaking of a group that's all substance, Adam mentioned that you did a poster for the South Bay Surfers.
Oh yeah, they're
The greatest band of all time.
I agree. They played my birthday party.
Played my birthday party.
Yeah, and I had them play at Al's Bar.
I had to play at the bowling alley.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, weren't they great? I mean, see, we're getting back to folk art again.
They're the greatest outsider musicians I've ever seen. If anybody doesn't know, we've talked about South Bay Surfers on the show, but they're just like these older guys who don't really know how to play their instruments. They do oldies covers.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't have any originals, I don't think.
No.
They pick good songs though.
Yeah. They
They're so bad.
well, they're so bad. And the good thing about them,
They get worse.
but they don't know they're that bad. They've never realized that people like them, and somebody even put out probably at least $1,000 out of their own pocket to put out a record a long time ago because they were so bad. That's why they're real, true outsider musicians, and they would fight with each other all the time.
It's a D.
Yeah.
D-A-G.
And I don't think any of those guys even knew what a D chord was or looked like or anything.
The guitars looked like they had never been in a case, ever.
Yeah.
Actually, when David, the singer, came to my party, it was in a case that was like tied together with a belt,
Yeah,
like didn't
yeah.
close anymore.
Yeah.
When they played at my birthday party, it was just the singer and a drummer and a bass player that he had never played with
Oh,
before.
No guitar player, or just
He played guitar.
or just Dave was doing it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but War, the little guy, the bass player, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
But the bass player, it was just like this obnoxious chain wallet guy, showed up super late. They had already started playing, and then he came in he added nothing, and he was really obnoxious, and of course they played until the place made them stop. That's what they
Oh, yeah.
always do. That's their move.
Yeah. But the thing is, the South Bay Surfers and their original incarnation were just guys that just somehow knew each other, and I think they were friends. And then wasn't the drummer Bill, the original drummer?
Right.
Wait, he was. Oh, his brother later joined the band as a second part.
Okay,
No,
saxophone player at one point.
Cardinal. Yeah, Joe Cardinal was just a nutcase, and I think Dave and Joe Cardinal were these guys that would just they sold at flea markets, not nice antique flea markets like the Rose Bowl. They sold at drive-in flea markets. They would catalog order stuff and sell it at the flea market. That's
how they knew each
That's
other?
how I think they knew each other. Lauren, the bass player,
Lauren, that's his name.
he worked at Taco Bell, but he worked at the same Taco Bell for like 30 years. And if you look on YouTube, there's his retirement party. Like he retired from Taco Bell, and the South Bay Surfers played in the parking lot in the back. So, you know, that's how deep that gets. But the thing is, those guys, like they were always arguing and fighting with each other. And, you know, you would think if they loved oldies that much, they would sit at home and, you know, okay, I'm learning how to play Teenager in Love. You know, but yeah, there was like I looked at bands like that. You know, they're definitely like one of my all-time favorite local bands, because you look at them and it's just like, who's more punk rock than them? Whoa, that's a true garage rock band. Nobody else is. You know.
They're so local, though. I need to know, how long have you been going to see them?
Well, I think the first time I saw them, okay, believe it or not, I can actually remember it. I think it was 93 or 94, and it was one of the most wonderful shows ever at this underground venue called Hollywood Moguls, where they showed underground films and did art shows, and it was right off of Hollywood Boulevard, and it was a South Bay Surfers Rocket Boy, which was this blind nutcase guy that, you know, would fronted this gnarly punk band that my friend Jay was in, and he would shoot himself in the chest with a staple gun. You know, he was just a Hollywood nutcase. And Corla Pandit, legendary Exotica organ player, and the wrestling theme band Foreign Object. So it was like all those great bands, and it was like seeing the South Bay Surfers up there, and I was just like, who the hell are these guys? And everybody's just like all getting into them, and then they break out like this box of records, and people are rushing the box of records and, you know, pulling out $5 bills, and, you know, like it's the Beatles.
Was it less of a joke back then? Like, was there ever a point where they were just like, oh, it's Friday, this band's playing this band, the South Bay Surfers, this band, where they were just like, you know, gigging a couple times a week locally? Or has it always been just a weird, like, oh, it's my birthday, it's my retirement party, I'll get them?
I think somebody discovered them somewhere, and I don't know how they came up on the scene, but they came up on the scene the same time as Harvey Sid Fisher, the, you know, astrology song guy that was this cable access legend.
Yes, I played with him at the Cinefan. Yes,
Yeah, so they just came out from nowhere. They were always a joke, but man, it's like it was earlier on at their height. They got on some good gigs.
They're in that Vandals movie, Sweating to the Oldies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they popped up. But there's no information about them on the internet.
Really? There's a bunch of stuff on YouTube, but it's not none of the stuff you want to see though. It's when they had all these replacement members, and it's just Dave and some girl on bass, and like, you know.
But that makes it even worse. Like when they played at my birthday party, I had been hearing about them for years, because on allmusic.com, which is one of the only like two things, but they don't have a Wikipedia page, I don't think. There's just a one paragraph thing that says they're the worst band of all time. So it's like, oh, I gotta catch this group. So I finally saw them just like last year, and then so I was joking when I booked them. I was like, no, do you think they got worse? And they did.
Oh yeah.
They really. It's amazing.
I think losing some of those original members made them worse, because I think they sort of jived on some sort of a level of, you know, just ineptness or you know, years and years of too much pot 24 hours a day. But you know, it's just I don't know, there's just something really pure about them. I mean, it's like bands like that are actually my favorites. I mean, I like things that are so bad they're good, or you know, just like the old Japanese guy, the one-man band in Little Tokyo. I forget his name. I have his record from 1982. Like things like that are just like he got sick and he hasn't performed very much, but I'm just like, I want to do a poster or a CD cover for him. Like, I'll do whatever he wants for free, because it's just like, I'm about that, you know. Like if somebody said, oh hey John, you know, it's like, I want you to do like, you know, a poster for like, you know, this big show at the Hollywood Bowl or whatever, I wouldn't even get that excited anymore, you know. But if the South Bay Surfers came back, I would just be like, yeah, oh yeah, I know what just what to do, you know, and I would just give them away and be happy. So,
What is it that makes you feel like that? What is it about that? Like, let's get into like some feelings here. What is it about that naivete that gets you excited?
well, it's real. There's nothing pretentious there. I mean, my favorite visual art is folk art. I mean, I don't even do concert posters anymore. I rarely do anything for a band because it's just I'm over it. It's just like everything's put in this cookie cutter in a category and everything. But you know, people doing visual folk art and outsider music are, you know, they're just doing something because they want to, and they're just
They can't help it.
yeah.
They have to. I'm like,
Yeah.
for me, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be so naive to just like go out there and like, because no outsider music sounds the same.
Yeah.
It's all so weird.
Yeah, and you know, it's and what I'm really into art-wise, and you know, is even my own visual art, my fine art stuff. You know, I'm trying to like sort of turn things off in my brain and just channel my own inner kook, because that's another thing that's disappearing. Is you remember you used to pick up like all the time, especially in Pasadena and Hollywood, kook flyers, like they're political or religious or, you know, just bizarre beliefs or just a bunch of schizophrenic nonsense. Like, I collect those things and I look at that and I'm just like, now, this is high conceptual art. You know, there's nothing higher than this. What draws me to it is it's real. You know, that person is just doing something. That person's not like out there doing a mural or designing a poster or a T-shirt or doing a painting because I'm going to fit into this scene here in LA. You know, I use spray paint, therefore I'm a street artist. Or, you know, I went around and wheat pasted posters for 2 months. Now I have a show at a small gallery. I'm a street artist. It's just like, you want a real street artist? Go find some of those kooky people that were passing out flyers in Hollywood Boulevard about, you know, the end of times and, you know, Donald Trump being the Messiah and stuff like that. Or Olga, prophet of Los Angeles in Echo Park. You know, that's a real street artist. She was out every night, like, passing out flyers, taping them up, gluing them up, putting them on your windshield when you saw a show at the Echo. You know, so, I mean, what's more real of a street artist than her? That's what I like about it. That's what, like, I mean, when I first started doing concert posters, I was like that. I was just a little punk kid with just like, I'd find a picture in an old book and just say, oh, this is so great. This would be great for that Vandals poster because this guy's smiling and he has no teeth and he looks like a zombie. And he's just, and putting him in a funny context. And now if you do work for bands, it's almost sort of like, well, how is this representative of, you know, us or whatever? If somebody looks at the picture of the toothless guy, are they going to think that we have missing teeth? You know, there's all this thoughts because, like, everything that's printed up is like a tattoo. It's like, because that image might wind up on the internet and it's going to be out there. It's not like this is a poster for one show and after that, like, it's going to go on some people's walls if they like it enough, and then after that it's going to get collected a bit, and then there's going to be another poster made. So, I mean, the purity of things, you know. I'm really into the private press genre of records.
Sure.
You know, the whole outsider aspect. I like kid graffiti too. You know, just chicken scratch. Sometimes it's like how kids will just be like walking home from school and just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do my tag right here. Yeah, this is a great place for it where, you know, nobody might ever see it, but just because I got my marker in my pocket and I'm passing by, I'm going to do this. You know, that's cool. You know.
The real deal. So in all of this realness and stuff, you know, and like in this strange, there's some real wisdom that comes out of it. Is there any? Because we're almost out of time. Is there
really?
any?
I can talk that
like, is there any? Hey, we did it together.
Yeah.
Is there any like one piece of wisdom distilled down for folk art, outsider weirdness that you could tell to somebody who isn't maybe into weird stuff, that could like make them see the light or just help somebody?
Okay, it's mostly burned down now, but the Heidelberg project in Detroit, that's a massive, it was a neighborhood of folk art. Or if you can look up Ray Crabtree, the philosophy king, there's some of his stuff on the internet. He was like kind of a outsider folk artist writer that distributed leaflets. Early Tony Alamo pamphlets, things like that. Mexican signage, it's all around us in LA.
That's right. And that's a great thing to go out on. Go out in LA, go out in your own neighborhood, explore the weird things, see things that are strange. John, thanks so much for being on the show. A lot of rock talk tonight.
Okay.
I love it.
Well, thanks for having me.
I love rock. So everyone, until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.
Okay.